Hello and welcome to the FPL Stats Show, a brand new series on the channel. We're going to be looking at everything stats related for the upcoming game weeks in FPL. It's going to be a brand new weekly series where we go over the likes of captaincy, defensive contributions, clean sheet odds, goal projections, and a lot more, as well as ownership and stuff like that, popular transfers in. We're going to take a look at the stats to see who the best transfers and, basically the best moves and options that you are going to have for every single game week. Before we get started, the mini league is on screen, the mini league code. You can join that down in the description, and you only have a couple days left for Fantasy Football Hub's big 50% off offer. So if you do plan on using Fantasy Football Hub this season for all of the best stats, a lot of which are used in this video, make sure to use the link in the description and sign up today. Now today we're going to start off with FPL's brand new feature, which has been a huge focus in team building, and that is defensive contributions. If you have been playing the game regularly and making a lot of drafts, you will probably know what this means, but if you do not know and you're just building your first team, defensive contributions basically count for actions, defensive actions such as blocks, tackles, interceptions and clearances, also known as CBIT if you do see that anywhere else. But for midfielders and forwards only, you'll also get ball recoveries added as a defensive contribution as well. Now, defensive contribution points are only capped at 2 per match, so if a player, as you can see, a defender picks up 10 defensive contributions, they'll pick up 2 points, and that is all they can get. The same with midfielders and forwards, but they do have to achieve 12, but of course they do have the ball recoveries added in there as well, which does, kind of make up for the extra 2 contributions that are needed. Now we are going to take a look at some of the best players to pick for defensive contributions, starting off with the midfielders. As you can see on screen, we have the top 20 midfielders of who got the most extra points from defensive contributions if they were in the game last season. So you can see Moises Caicedo at the top with 42, all the way down to Declan Rice in 20th place. Now, if you've been making a lot of drafts, if you've been looking at drafts on Twitter and on YouTube, you'll know that Elliot Anderson has been a very popular player in a lot of drafts. He's averaging 13.44 defensive contributions per 90 minutes, and he has been starting towards the end of the season a lot for Nottingham Forest, and he looks like a fantastic player, only 5.5 million as well. A really good option that you can pick up, and of course does average over the 12 count that you do need to pick up 2 points per game. So it's a very stable way of picking up points this season. If Elliot Anderson is going to pick up, defensive contributions in every single match, he is going to be getting, like a minimum 4 points unless he does get booked. So a really nice way to pick up consistent points, especially for someone who is going to be so cheap. Someone that does also catch my eye as well as Bruno Fernandes there in at 13th. He does average 10.71, so just a little bit lower, but in terms of players who can also pick up attack and returns, he's obviously one of the top guys in there. On penalties for Manchester United, picked up 3 goals in pre-season as well. A little bit of doubts that he is going to be playing a little further back this season, but like I said, he's still picking up goals in pre-season, still going to be picking up assists. I think he's going to be at the forefront of Man United's goals, and obviously with those penalties as well, he can still be a really nice option. So an extra 22 points he picked up from defensive contributions last year just makes him even more of a good player. And I think with Man United not having Europe at all this season, you are going to be looking at Bruno basically playing 90 minutes in every single match. Declan Rice is another one who is a little bit interesting. He's 6.5 million this year, averaging 9.47 defensive contributions per 90 minutes. I don't know if he is still going to be playing defensive midfield now with Zubimendi recently being signed for Arsenal, but he kind of played in that central midfield role anyway for Arsenal last year. He doesn't really, hit the defensive contribution points every single match, but 18, means he hit that in 9 games last year of however many he played. So a decent option. Obviously, he can get forward and goals and assists as well. So I think if you're looking at these, from the top 20, I really like the look of Elliot Anderson, Bruno Fernandes and Declan Rice. Moving on to the defenders as well, we have the top 20 available, and this is kind of what you want to focus on a little bit more, because obviously defenders can pick up clean sheets, so you just want to be picking up a defender that picks up defensive contribution points and plays for a decent enough team that's going to get clean sheets as well, because obviously the cap is only 2 points, so it's not absolutely game breaking, but if your defender is still getting clean sheets as well and consistently picking up an extra 2 points, you're looking at a lot of extra points. The likes of James Tarkowski, and at 44 DEFCON points last year, you're looking at, technically an extra 15 assists. 15 assists equivalates to 45 points. And obviously if James Tarkowski picked up 15 assists last year, everyone would probably have him in their team. Now obviously you're looking at 10 defensive contributions to achieve those extra 2 points, and we do have a couple of players in here that do average above that in Tarkowski, Murillo, Lacroix and Pinnock. Pinnock's one I'm not really too interested in. I don't think Brentford are going to be too good this year, but the other three are definitely pretty decent options. You've got Tarkowski, who plays for a pretty solid defence in Everton. Murillo, obviously one of the better defences last year for Nottingham Forest, and then Lacroix as well, playing for Crystal Palace. But the ones that personally I'm going to be looking at is the likes of the Nottingham Forest guys. You've got Murillo in there, you've got Milenkovic in at 7th, you've also got Nico Williams at 13th. Three of the Nottingham Forest guys who obviously do have good clean sheet potential, and for the likes of Milenkovic and Nico Williams have very good goal threat as well. In terms of premiums in there, you're really only looking at Virgil van Dijk. There's no one really from any other premium teams, premium defences that are there except from Virgil van Dijk, averaging 8.16 defensive contributions per 90. So a really, really nice pick. Obviously you are going to be paying 6 million for him. You get 24 points from defensive contributions. You will see him in a lot of defences for game week 1 as well. I think there is a bit of a debate going on whether you should be focusing on defensive contributions as much this year, or should you go for, attack and threat kind of players. I think defensive contributions is definitely something that you do want to consider. Obviously you do want to try and match that up with attack and threat. The likes of, Nico Williams, Milenkovic, Virgil van Dijk all do provide attack and threat. Milenkovic and van Dijk obviously a big threat from corners, able to score headers. Milenkovic was the highest scoring defender last year if you do include defensive contribution points as well, with Van Dijk right up there as well. So there's a lot of focus on centre backs this year. There is obviously full backs that you can hope for attacking returns, but they're a little bit harder to predict than defensive contributions. If you can see a player like Tarkowski averaging over 10 contributions per game, you can rely on him potentially picking up 2 points every single game. Whereas if you go for someone like a Ait Nouri or a Daniel Munoz, you aren't going to get the defensive contributions every game, and you are going to be relying on them picking up attack and returns, which isn't going to happen every single week. So I think going for a mix of both is definitely what you want to be looking at. If you can get someone who does both, that is exactly what you are wanting, of course. But of course you obviously want to look at clean sheet odds as well when it comes to defenders. So we've got the game week 1 clean sheet odds available here. Tottenham, Arsenal and Manchester City are your top 3. Now, again, when you're talking about defensive contributions, not a single one of those players, not a single one of those defenders from those teams popped up in the top 20 for defensive contributions. You do, however, have the likes of Liverpool and Everton in there. Again, speaking about Tarkowski, speaking about Virgil van Dijk, they have pretty nice clean sheet odds for game week 1. I know the likes of Crystal Palace, you are seeing a lot of good value defenders in there, like Lacroix at 5 million, Chris Richards at 4.5 million, but they're down in 17th with only a 15% chance of a clean sheet this week. So if you are going to be picking Crystal Palace players and Fulham players who also provide some decent value, I would maybe be looking at benching them for game week 1. However, as we are building for the entire season, not just for game week 1, we do have the best defensive fixtures for the opening 6 games. You do have Arsenal in there, Liverpool, City, Chelsea. A lot of your, the teams that you would be expecting to be there. That's probably your best 4 teams in the league. You also have Nottingham Forest, Everton, and Aston Villa. So one thing I did want to, pull up was the Everton defence. You have seen obviously Tarkowski, number 1 for defensive contributions. Everton were also 5th for clean sheet odds in game week 1, and you can see they're sitting in 6th for the best defensive fixtures for the first 6 games. So Tarkowski is definitely looking like a very solid shout for the first couple of game weeks, and as I already have spoke about the Forest players, you can see them in at 5th place as well, with probably some of the best defensive fixtures available. Sunderland at home, Burnley away, that's 2 of the promoted sides, as well as Brentford at home in there as well. So some really nice fixtures for a lot of your defenders that you can also pick up, defensive contribution points from. And of course, the likes of Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea all have good attacking defenders in there as well. You've got Frimpong, you've got Ait Nouri, you've got Cucurella. That's just one from each of your three teams. So for me, I'm putting a lot of focus in defence this season. Obviously, with the added DEFCONs, it just makes defenders look a lot better this season. So I definitely want to put a lot of money into my defence, and you obviously will have seen that if you watched yesterday's team selection video. So for me, definitely this season, I am definitely going to be putting a big focus onto defensive contributions for defenders, as well as trying to nail when teams are most likely to get clean sheets. Now, moving on from defenders, let's take a look at some midfielders and attackers. Looking at the goal projections for game week 1, we do have Liverpool at the top. They are playing at home against Bournemouth, the current reigning champions. Bournemouth have, of course, lost a lot of their defence as well. Kerkez moving to Liverpool, Hodgson going to Real Madrid, and Zabarnie has now confirmed his move to PSG. And I'm not really seeing any notable signings that Bournemouth have made to replace those guys, so I can see Liverpool doing really well in the opening games. A lot of people are doubling up on their attack, and for good reason as well. They have some fantastic attackers available, and obviously Salah, Florian Wirtz, Ekitike looks like a pretty decent option as well. A lot of good options in the Liverpool attack that you can go for. Second, we've got Spurs, who have 2.22 projected goals, and I think Solanke's really your only option in attack. I'm not the biggest fan of Kudus, if I'm going to be honest. I think he's new to the system. They've obviously got a new manager. I think Solanke being on penalties, you at least have that to fall back on if the form isn't too great. And Spurs' fixtures overall do look pretty decent, so that is why I do like the look of Solanke, but I probably wouldn't go anywhere else. For Man City, obviously Haaland is going to be your main guy there. Everyone else is a little bit of a minute's risk. But as we take a look at the best attacking fixtures for the first couple of games, Man City do have the best. They've got Wolves away, Spurs at home, Brighton away, United at home, Arsenal away, and Burnley at home in game week 6. So really, if we're being honest, Arsenal away is probably the only tough fixture that Man City do have in the opening 6 games. So an attacker isn't really the worst of choices. Haaland, if you can get to him, is definitely a decent one, but you don't want to miss out on Salah, because they're obviously sitting second for attacking fixtures as well, with also some really good games in there too. So Haaland and Salah drafts, if you can make one, they do look like two players that could do absolutely brilliantly. We've got Chelsea and Spurs in there as well. Against Spurs, against Solanke, looks like really good value at 7.5 million. A little bit lower than you maybe would expect is Arsenal in there. They do have very tough opening fixtures, to be fair, Arsenal. So you are going to be paying a lot of money for the likes of Saka and Gyökeres, and maybe not really getting too much of a return. I think game week 2 is really where you would be looking, to get something out of those guys. But they've got Liverpool away, Man United away in game week 1 is also quite hard, but Nottingham Forest, City and Newcastle, a lot of very strong defences, maybe where Arsenal attackers wouldn't really do too well. And I think for the price that they are available at, you can get some better options at that price. I think I'm going to try and spread my attack as much as I possibly can. There's a lot of uncertainties with new signings and stuff like that. So personally, I think this season I'm going to try and keep it safe. So the likes of Florian Wirtz and Ekitike, who are new to the league, I'm going to be, staying clear of those guys for the first couple of weeks and sticking to the players who I know are going to be good, like Mohamed Salah, like Cole Palmer and stuff like that. They also obviously have really nice fixtures as well. You obviously would have seen Newcastle and Aston Villa in that top 6 as well. Ollie Watkins is someone who I've got my eye on. Morgan Rogers is someone who I've got my eye on as well, who is now back in training after a slight injury worry with him. £7 million, I think he looks like a fantastic option in midfield, someone that I'm definitely going to be interested in. And the Aston Villa penalty taker spot is still up for grabs. I don't think it's going to be Rogers that does take them. That probably is going to be Ollie Watkins, but at least I'm covering them both with, pick both of them in my team, which is what I think I'm going to be doing. One player I'm going to be staying clear of, however, and is very, very highly owned, is João Pedro. You can see the top 5 owned players. Obviously, I've just spoke about avoiding Florian Wirtz and new transfers. You've got 3 new transferred players in the top 5 owned players in the game. João Pedro has overtaken Mohamed Salah, which means Salah is now only the 3rd highest owned player in the game. I think if you do own Mohamed Salah, that's probably a good thing that he had a poor Community Shield final, because a lot of people have seemed to sell him off, and I'm seeing a lot more no Salah drafts. Personally, I just wouldn't want to do that and risk that. So Salah is definitely a nailed player for me. But you've got Pedro in at 54.8%, you've got Florian Wirtz at 34.7%, and Jeremy Frimpong 29.8%. You'll notice it's very, highly dominated by Chelsea and Liverpool players in there. Cole Palmer is the highest owned player in the game. I think that good Club World Cup for him is really what has set him apart and made him, that high owned player that he is, highest in the game. And they also have really nice fixtures, Chelsea as well. So obviously we have spoke about a lot of different premium options with good fixtures that could potentially do well, but which one are you looking to captain in game week 1? I did a captaincy poll over on Twitter which received 172 total votes, and Mohamed Salah is the clear winner there with 65% of people picking him for captaincy. We get a couple of votes for Haaland, a couple of votes for Palmer, and only 10 people said that they were going to be captaining someone outside of that. I do think Salah is going to be your best option. I said this in yesterday's team selection video as well. You cannot win FPL in game week 1, but you can definitely lose it. And I think if Salah, goes on and does fantastically in game week 1 against a depleted Bournemouth defence, you really could be trying to, claw that back for a long time. So I think the safest option is just to go for Mo Salah and follow the crowd. He is going to be very highly captained as well. He's the highest predicted points over on Fantasy Football Hub with 8.6, which is a fair bit higher than Haaland and Palmer, almost 2 full points ahead. Obviously, all 3 of our options are pretty decent for expected minutes. Haaland and Salah are very close when it comes to goal odds this week. Salah with a 56% chance against Bournemouth, and Haaland with 54% against Wolves. If you do like to dive deeper into a little bit more of the stats, Haaland is playing against the worst defence from last season. Bournemouth were one of the stronger ones, the 8th strongest defence in the league, but again, they do have a very depleted defence. Haaland obviously playing against Wolves, they are the 15th best, so the 6th worst defence in the league. And then we've got Cole Palmer against Crystal Palace, who actually look really nice, but they could be losing their captain in Guéhi, so again, could weaken that defence a little bit. And if you want to look at the form, pre-season form, Haaland has been the one on fire. We've got Salah only picking up 1 return in his previous 5 games. Haaland has scored in his last 3 matches and picked up a goal and an assist 4 games ago. Cole Palmer as well only had 2 pre-season friendlies. Before that it was the Club World Cup. That middle fixture there with 2 returns was the Club World Cup final against PSG, where he really did make an impact. So it's really up to you who's going to start the best. I think it's going to be Mohamed Salah, so I'm going to be going for Salah as my captaincy. I also do own Cole Palmer just in case he does pop off, but the one player I'm going to be very worried about this week is going to be Erling Haaland. But make sure you let me know down in the comments who your captain is going to be, and make sure to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy. We will be making this a weekly series, of course, and make sure to leave down in the comments what you would like to see going forward in our stats show. Is there anything that was maybe missing today that you would have liked to see? If so, just let me know down in the comments and I'll try and get that integrated for next week. Make sure to subscribe if you did enjoy. Again, Fantasy Football Hub is 50% off only until the season starts, so you've not got a lot of time if you do want to sign up for that. Again, the link is in the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.